thank Mr. Neal for yielding. The gentleman from Pennsylvania, as he well knows, is one of my favorite members. He is a good friend. He is a man of great integrity. But, Mr. Speaker, both the House and Senate bills are bad bills. And this is a sad day in the House. Hypocrisy is on stark display. Responsibility is absent, and politics and donors have subverted policy. This conference is a sham, an attempt to make it appear that the House and Senate are going through regular order. Sadly, we have not gone through regular order. The thought is we will reconcile the two versions of the dangerous Republican tax increase and deficit bill. I call this a debt tax because it will explode the deficit. As happened in 1981, when under Ronald Reagan for 8 years we increased the debt of this country 189%. The chairman of the Ways and Means Committee mentions Mr. Obama, who increased it 88%, or less than half of the Reagan increase in the debt. And we were promised then, as we're promised now, that cutting these taxes would grow the economy. Would that that were the case. But there won't be any real regular order in this conference, just as there hasn't been throughout this entire process. There will only be further closed door, backroom antics by leaders on their own, asking Republican members to take it or leave it. And this motion to instruct, of course, will be defeated. But Democrats are offering it because from the very beginning, we have made clear that we are here to work toward the kind of tax reform that the American people want. Tax reform that I worked with in 1986. And they don't want an elimination of the deduction for state and local taxes, which our motion would instruct the conferees not to do. The deductions for state and local taxes support schools and first responders in our communities. And the American people don't want to kick 13 million people off their health insurance coverage. So our motion would instruct conferees, take this dangerous provision out. But no motion can address all the ways the Republican tax bills put our people and our future in danger. The Senate bill raises taxes on somewhere around 78 million working Americans. Middle-class households, not as a pejorative, but as an income spectrum. Why? To offset massive tax cuts for those not with whom we're at war, but who are doing very well and don't need our help. It plunges our children and grandchildren, of which I have a number, an additional $1.7 trillion in debt, and I think that's the minimum, making them pay tomorrow for what Republicans refuse to pay for today. And for what? For what, Mr. Speaker, are we being asked to do all these things? For economic growth? For jobs? We know it won't grow our economy in any substantially way faster. Why? Because almost every economist tells us that. And we know that the few jobs the Senate bill would create, and listen to this, that they claim that they'll create will cost $1.9 million per job. The vast majority of Americans won't benefit from this plan, but those who are already extremely wealthy will benefit greatly. As a matter of fact, 52 times what the gentleman will tell us.
Yield an additional 1 minute.
I thank
the gentleman is recognized for an additional minute.
Mr. Speaker, there's a saying that Texans like to use, this dog won't hunt. It doesn't do what it's purported to do. It doesn't take Einstein to predict what will happen this time around, when he said doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is insanity. I've been here. I've seen this. I've heard this argument. It's resulted in the same thing. Now, I have more to say, but my time is up. And let me say to the gentleman from Texas, the chairman of the committee, he's going to tell me how much people in my district get a tax break. Tell me about my children and my grandchildren whose debts you will pile on them to borrow money from China or someplace else to give this tax cut that they will then have to pay off in their time. Tell me how much my children will have their taxes raised, Mr. Chairman, and I yield to him. He apparently doesn't know. That's sad. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back.